Okay, today is Wednesday, August 18th. This is CAD 212, Class 2. This is what we're going to be reviewing in class today. First thing we're going to be discussing is our sketch discussion. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into Canvas. More people coming in. Okay, so why do we sketch? We sketch just to get an idea of what we're looking at, to really kind of connect our mind and our hand to what we want to see and what we want to create. It's really the best way to kind of get into your drawing and things like that. And a lot of times, people are worried about, are you going to be grading like the quality of my drawing or anything like that? I'm not, definitely not looking at that. I'm looking at the way you think and the way that your eye works. Because even when we're sketching out ideas and we're thinking about new floor plans or anything like that, it's really best to start with a sketch. And you wouldn't think that this would mean anything, this sketch right here, but this is actually, you wouldn't believe what this sketch is. Does this look familiar to anybody, or can anybody figure out what this is? This is actually this. That was the original sketch of Frank Gehry for the Bilbao Museum in Spain. So I was thinking to myself, well, if that's how Gehry sketches and he can create this out of that, I should not feel bad about my sketches that are not that bad either. The point is, it may not make sense to anybody else, but for you to use that creative element to really kind of pull out your ideas and think about what you want to make. And, you never know what's going to come of that. So I thought this was a really interesting example. And this is another one of his. This is a terrible, I need to get a new image of this, but it's still basically, you get the gist of it, but this turned into this. So the idea is just for you to start drawing, take a couple of minutes a day and just practice that. The more you practice it, the better you get. And it just kind of works that creativity in you. So I definitely, that's why we continue to work on sketching and why we start you out with sketching. So we are going to go through y'all's drawings today, and I know turnabout is fair play, so I'm going to share some of my drawings with you. So you can see I'm just looking for like something basic. I'm not a great sketcher, but I'm getting just the idea and the gist of this particular building down. Here's another one, but you can see it's not my skill set, but I practice it. And this is actually supposed to be this building. And this is actually in Saint Amant. It's a Saint Amant church that was built by a local architect. And it's really cool looking. It used to be a bigger complex, but now it's just this church, just the church structure here. So you can see it's just a matter of getting in there in somewhere and just practicing. And even though it's not great, I have an idea of what I'm looking at later on, and the more you practice it, the better it gets. So that's why we sketch, and it also does train your eye. It's a good way to like pick out details in different buildings and things like that. All these like different markings on this building. I don't know if you can really see it right here, but this is a concrete building made from a form. And these are all the forms that are left over from the planks that they used to create the form. And and it gives it a really interesting texture on the outside. But as you noticed on the inside, it's really smooth. So, but you can still see the planks on the inside of it. If you have the chance, I definitely recommend you to go visit this. But it's in Saint Amant, just Saint Amant Church, and it's just a cool little building to visit. So that's why we do it, and this is just some examples of it. So now I'm going to run through your assignments that have been turned in, and give you all the chance to say to talk about the front of your building and see how that worked out. So let me go ahead and get to that. I noticed a couple people came in late. That's not a problem today. It's always a little awkward on the first week or so of class. So I'm just going to run through and make sure I have everybody in attendance. I think I saw a couple of people come in. Mohammed, are you there?
Yes.
Cool, thanks. Tabitha, did you come in? Haley?
Yes, ma'am.
You're there? Great, thank you. Jonathan Fan, did you come in? Okay, still down too. Okay, no worries. Glad we caught everybody else up. All right. All right, so I'm just going to share my screen with everybody's work in it. And then that person who is up can give a brief description about it. So first off, I have, is it Jabriel or Gabriel?
Gabriel.
Gabriel, okay, cool. Just want to make sure I was pronouncing that correct. Okay, Gabriel, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We've got you up first. And this is Gabriel's work. This looks great. Can you tell us a little bit about it? Really good measurements here and stuff like that. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not pretty good at freehand drawing, so this was just, I guess, like simpler. I took some pictures because I'm from out of town, but that's my parents' house.
Yeah, that's great. It's good. You've got the fascia on there, and you know, measurements. Did you get them to measure it for you, or did you do that?
I counted bricks. I used to do some construction.
Oh my God!
I knew it like a little bit, like what's used on the corners and stuff.
No, that's great. That's really smart too. Like if you were out and you needed to get some kind of measurements and you lost all your tools, that's a really smart way to look at stuff, counting the bricks. Very good. Yeah, this looks really good, really nice, much better than mine. All right, let's go on to next person. Sean Brown, you're up.
Okay, I kind of had some trouble with this. I'm not too great at freehand drawing.
Okay.
Like getting the roof of like the carport and stuff was kind of difficult to make it look somewhat three-dimensional. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always tough, and sometimes it's better just to do like a flat elevation. I mean, when you look at a set of plans, it doesn't always look, you know, three-dimensional. Kind of like when we're doing some drawings in AutoCAD, when you're doing like little pieces, it doesn't look three-dimensional. So you don't always have to get that. And what I like about this is that you do pull out that there's shutters on all of them. You've got the side lights on the door, the railings, the lights outside. So your catching those details, and that's really what I'm looking at. We've even got this gutter down here on this side, so that's good. So no, it's a good start. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tabitha, you here? No? Haley?
Hi. My house is very plain looking. It's like I said again, yeah, you see all the trees. Didn't really meant to put all that, but I really tried my hardest to make everything look sunken because honestly, the door itself and all the shutters and the garage doors are sunken into the place. All the doors have like shutters, and for the garage, it doesn't really open like going up. It kind of like folds up, so that's why it was sunken in. But I also try to put the satellite at the top. So
Yeah, that's great. Let's take a look at your
Yeah.
upside down house. Yeah, no, that totally makes sense with the doors being set back. And but yeah, you captured the basics of the house. That's pretty much what I figured to look at. And then when you're doing a sketch, you're just doing a we'll hand sketch really quick. Sometimes, things get squished up and stuff. And it's hard to show the doors recessed when you're looking at a flat view. So no.
Honestly, when I was drawing it, it kind of got too big for like what I was trying to draw because I underestimated how big my house looked, and I realized the windows are actually to this roof. So yeah, I had a lot of erasing.
No, that's fine, and that's good. That's what this exercise is to do, is to have you think about it when you're drawing, and you're like, oh no, that doesn't look right, and you're able to translate those ideas and those catches onto your actual Revit drawing. So no, it did exactly what it was supposed to do as far as the exercise. No, this is great. Thank you. All right, who's next? Fernando. Very nice. Fernando, you there?
Yeah. Well, that's best I could do. That's actually my second hand drawing that I haven't done my whole life. So
That's okay. Yeah, you saw my work. It's not great. But I do like the attention to detail with the side, the 30 and 35 feet. So how did you get the feet, the height of the house?
actually, I went to the drawing, like the actual drawing,
Oh,
my house, and that's how to get the measurements from the height.
that's great.
The width, like I did that myself. So.
Yeah. Oh no, that's great. No, that's a good start, especially on these two-story houses. They get a little bit complex, and as we start our exercise for the first half of the semester, we'll you'll have to excuse me, my allergies are crazy today. Well, probably for those of you with second floor houses, we're going to have to work on that when we get to that floor plan. We're going to lay out the floor plan as is with the staircase in there, but depending on how quickly we can progress through the first half of the semester, we may need to eliminate that second floor. So we're mainly just going to be concerned about the first floor. So that helps y'all with second floor houses too. All right, looks great. Thank you. And Raymond?
I have the wrong thing uploaded. Look like I think go to click on the first one, the one with the that's my sketch. I have I'm gonna have to re-upload the one with my
Okay, you can re-upload them. But thank you for your basketball picture.
Nah, that's I do that's my friend here in the NFL. I do like videography.
Oh, very cool.
And that's like the clip art from my YouTube page.
Okay, very cool. Excellent. Yeah. Go ahead and get those uploaded today for me. I can get those.
Wait, you clicked the first one?
I did.
Scroll. It's supposed to be right there. All right, I'm just about to resubmit it, and I'm gonna let you know.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Josh. Josh, are you there?
Yes. So, um, so like on my drawing, I didn't want to leave a bunch of empty space. So like I tried drawing in some brick.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not exactly accurate because it's like there's so many on the one wall.
Yeah. Yeah,
And then
that's
like
not a problem.
and then like on the roof, there's some shaded in areas. I did that because they're supposed to be like set back.
Hmm.
So it's supposed to be like different like lighting levels.
Yeah, you have a really complicated roof. This is a complicated drawing. Yeah, and a lot of people feel that they should cover the blank walls with like all the brick and patterns like that. We're going to go over a couple examples of how you can designate that, show that the wall is a brick wall without having to cover it with the entire pattern. So valiant effort on that, especially with that roof. That's tough. This is going to be it's a more complicated roof to draw, but we'll get you through it. So don't worry about that. Yeah, looks good. Thank you. Jonathan, you there? Ishmael?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, let's see. Nice. We got some graph paper on here. It looks good.
Yeah, I think I kind of cheated with the graph paper.
That's not cheating. It's you use what you feel that you want to use. It's not a problem.
Well, it was a way to make everything, I guess, symmetric without actually taking true measurements.
Yes.
I could just eye it up and look at it and
Yep.
get as close as possible.
Yeah, it looks really good. No, I love graph paper. Not everybody has graph paper, so I don't want them to go out and buy it. If you got it, totally use it.
Yeah, I wish I had known about the bricks. That took forever.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll show you how to do that as the semester goes by. But yeah, this is really good. It's really nice representation of it. And you did a good job getting that recess. Yeah, I know I have trouble with that as well. So no, looks really good. Good job.
Thank you.
Yep. Jonathan? Oh, this is really nice.
Yeah.
This looks like a little bit more artistic than the other ones. This is nice.
Well, I'm glad using graph paper is not cheating because
Yeah.
that's what I needed. Well, that's not even with straight lines. I can't draw a straight line. That's crazy.
Maybe it's just that, artistic influence in you. It's a little Michaelopoulos with the curves on here.
Right.
Yeah, no, but it looks good. Let's take a look at.
Whoop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't draw the little structure on the side or the fence, and I didn't draw in the banister there on the top floor because it was just becoming too many lines.
Oh yeah, no, you don't need to do all that. You got the basics down. Is what we needed. So yeah, no, it does get a bit busy and things like that once you put all the lines on there, but it's a good practice for just, picking out the detail and things like that. So, what else kind of jumps out at me about this is that you do have the difference between the pillars here. So you caught that.
Yeah, it was not that easy. Like I tried to get the gutters in, but then it kind of just felt ridiculous. And then the roof line is actually somewhat fairly pretty true. The measurements are totally off. And that's that.
Yeah, they'll be off. It's just a quick sketch, but we get the gist of what you're going for, and we can see it's the same building. So no, that's great. Thank you.
Cool.
Sarah.
Hello.
Hey.
So very rough sketch. My house is pretty flat, plain, and all the lots of stuff was destroyed during the last really
Yeah, no.
bad windstorm that we had. So
Oh, no,
all my
sorry.
shutters are gone and all that. But I tried to like show that there was some brick by just kind of putting it at the corners.
I caught that. That's exactly what I was kind of talking about, where you have just like a harsh portion of it. So this is an example of how you can just show that it's brick without having brick across the entire thing. It's just these little areas right here, like she has. Good idea.
And then the doors recessed. It was kind of hard to do that, but
It is very hard to do that, but that looks good.
yeah.
So yeah, there we go. Oh, you can see where you lost your poor shutters. That's
Yes.
oh, this is a different type of recess. This is like these must be slanted at an
Yeah,
angle. Right?
slanted. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Another way to think about doing that is just drawing a line here and a line here for the door. It is kind of hard to imply on a flat drawing, but
Mhm.
another way to kind of catch that. But yeah, looks great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Rayshawn?
Hi, good morning, everyone. First, to begin, I apologize that I do not have a picture of my house because I'm an airline crew and I'm currently on duty and I'm
Oh my
away from
goodness.
home. So
Oh,
so
yeah, that would be hard.
yeah. So I drew it based on my memory
Mhm.
and things of that sort. So I pretty much I joined the class yesterday. So I just had to draw what was in my mind and then submit it. But I do apologize. I don't have a photograph to submit.
Yeah, that's understandable. That's okay, especially at the beginning of class. I appreciate you taking the effort and completing the drawing, especially if you're out and still working. But yeah, we'll. This looks great. I mean, obviously, there's two entryways on here. We've got, and it's a raised house here. So, would that be correct?
Yes, it is a raised house, and the roofing is a bit. It's interesting because of the front porch area of the house. It stands out a little bit more. I just kind of just drew it as if you're standing right in the very front of it.
Mhm.
But it's, as soon as I return to New Orleans on Saturday, I'll gladly take a photograph and send it. And that's pretty much what I have for right now.
No, this is great, and I appreciate you doing that while you're out of town. The good thing part about that for you is hopefully, the recordings of class. If you're not able to make class all the time, I know it's a crazy time, but the recordings will be on YouTube. Hopefully, you got that link. You can go from there if you do miss class.
Okay.
No problem.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a weird time, a time for it to take class and everything. So we try and make sure that it works for everybody. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing that.
But Miss Michelle.
Yes.
This Raymond, I had resubmitted.
Oh, you did already? Okay, awesome. Thanks,
Yeah.
Raymond. Let me go back to that.
Sorry.
Let me refresh.
Yeah, I resubmitted that.
There we are. Voila.
All right, boom. So I don't really have like no definition to it, but like my garage to the left area, it stands like way further out, like than my window in the back and everything, and they have a post like right by the door and stuff like that. So yeah, just a little rough sketch.
No, that's perfect. That's exactly what we needed. Let's take a look at your picture. So, go ahead and upload your actual picture of the front of your house when you get a chance.
No,
But this is great.
It's crazy. I don't know what's going on. I literally just did it again. I don't know what's
Yeah.
going on. I'm gonna try again.
Yeah, that's okay. just get that turned in. The important thing is that we have the drawing here, and I appreciate you getting that turned in this morning. But we do have the different types of windows, and then you've got your fleur-de-lis to call out, and then you've got your fascia laid out. So it's just a matter of looking at it and training your eye. You'll be surprised how the most mundane thing, you'll just notice the more you look at it, the more you think about it, the more these little details are going to pop out at you. And a lot of times as we create stuff, the detail work is really what's going to discern a really plain building from a really more ornate building. Or it just gives you that difference of viewpoint where it just makes something pop as opposed to just kind of be flat. So it's just about training your eye and looking at stuff and kind of going from there. And it's also training your eye, hand, mind coordination as far as putting it on, developing your ideas and things like that. So that's really why we kind of do this exercise to start with. So let me stop sharing. All right, next couple of things we're going to go over are things in Canvas. We're going to go over the vocabulary first, and then we're going to go over the plan set and symbols. So if you want to follow along in Canvas, you can do that. Let's see. All right, so I've got Canvas open now. I have a lot of files on Canvas. You're not going to need to know all of these or have access to all of these, but the file that you should see is fall of 2021. I'm making that active now. And in this file, fall 2021, we're going to jump to the files. And in the files, these should be active for you as well. If they're not active, let me know. Sometimes things can be hidden many ways in Canvas. But to start, we're going to go over our vocabulary. That's down here on the bottom. It's really straightforward. I'm just going to call out a couple of specifics that I like people to think about and be aware of as we proceed through class. Sometimes Canvas just loves to work with us. All right, stop that. All right, we skip straight to just a download. Okay, so this is just a basic list. What I usually do when we're live in class is I'll give this out to you and we'll do a quiz. Honestly, it's awkward to do a quiz over Canvas. So I still want you to know these words and know the information, but we're not going to do a quiz on them. But right off the top, and I remember at the beginning of class, we had somebody talk about how they were going into engineering, or they were going into engineering and then they decided to go to architecture. And that makes a lot of sense. So right here on the top, we have our two definitions of architecture and engineering. So architecture, the art, that's what I like to emphasize, and science of designing buildings and other structures for human use. And engineering is the application of scientific, economic, social, and practical knowledge in order to design, build, and maintain structures, machines, blah, blah, blah. So the gist of that is that both of these professions are the two sides of one coin. If we didn't have one or the other, things would look a lot different in the world. If we only had engineers and not architects, we would have a lot of really well-built squares, I think. They wouldn't go anywhere, but would they be the thing that brings you, awes you or inspires you? And that's where the architecture comes in. The architecture is the art and science of designing a building. So the architect will design something beautiful, and a lot of times they'll send it over to the engineer and be like, can you make sure this works? Can you make sure this stands up? And that's happened in a lot of famous buildings. One that particularly famous that you want to take a look at when you get a chance is it's now the TWA Hotel in New York at think it's at JFK. So that was an example of the architect came up with this amazing design, and then the engineer was really there to make sure that it stood up. And if you haven't taken a look at that building, I definitely recommend you doing it. It's very cool.
Good question.
Yes.
So really, when they're gonna ask for a permit to start building something, who really gotta sign that? The architect or the engineer?
The
The
architect
engineer.
usually handles all the building permits and things like that. The
Okay,
architect
so
is
the
that
the
runs
engineer
the,
makes sure that everything's right from the architect part.
right. Yeah, the architect is the one that's in charge of the plans, that kind of runs it, that runs the building of the building, along with the contractor. So the architect would be the one that applies for those. Unless somebody's working, using just an engineer, if they're not doing a full set of architecture plans, there's a lot of subtleties in that, but in general, it would be the architect that runs that. Okay, so, and then obviously next would be the contractor, and he is the person that actually puts it together. So when we're creating a set of drawings, we want to make sure they're as thorough as possible so that the contractor knows what they're getting into and they know what they're supposed to do, and they don't send us a bunch of change orders asking us to explain more information, which does cost more money. So if we can make our drawings, and as they get more complicated, it's hard, but as thorough as possible to start with. That's the most important thing.
Quick question.
Yes.
Is that so on when you're talking about those kind of drawings, is that where details would come into account? Right?
The detail drawings,
Yeah.
that would be more, yeah, we can talk about detail drawings a little bit more when we get into when we talk about our plan set, and we'll talk about that next, and you'll see how those are kind of laid out in the plans.
Cool.
Yep. Next, we want to jump down to building codes. Building codes is another big one. That's really the laws and standards specifying requirements for building. As anybody that lives in New Orleans knows, if you don't follow your building codes, you're going to have your building fall down like the Hard Rock. So really important to follow these and to make sure that that's being followed while the building is being built. Legend, a list of symbols and their corresponding meaning using a set of plans. Schedule, the list of details of a building, components such as doors. We're going to learn how to create a schedule. And this is, as it says, a list of different types of doors that are going to be used in the property. They do it as a schedule, so it's a good, easy way to keep track of the different types of doors that are used, or windows, or beams, and things like that. But we're going to specifically do the schedule for door and windows as we progress. Another big one is specifications. So when people think about architectural plans and getting those submitted, they think about just the actual construction drawings. Well, if there's actually a couple of pieces of information that go along with a set of plans, and one of them is the plans themselves, the drawings, and then the specifications. And the specifications is a written direction. They're like books that lay out specifically how the architect wants the building built. They can be very thorough. One of the projects I had, they had like two-inch books of specs, and they outline everything about how the architect wants the building to be built, including down to like the type of tile, the type of paint, the type of firewalls and things like that. But it's just a written version of it. We're not going to actually create any specs in this class, but it's good to know that's what specs are, and we'll kind of go over that a little bit more later on. North arrow must be shown on a set of plans to represent the position of the structure on the planet, the true north, so to speak. When we draw something, if we're drawing it from like one view, that's not necessarily going to represent the true north on a set of plans. So we use the north arrow to indicate that. Elevation, you're going to hear me use that a lot. Elevation is the height of something, but specifically when we refer to an elevation, it's usually going to be, it refers to the front view. Well, it says front view of a structure. Any view of a structure. It could be the front elevation, the rear elevation. It's just like you're standing directly in front of that property and you're like taking a picture of it, exactly what you did when you sketched it. and you're just drawing it. So what you did when you created those sketches of your house is that you just sketched your front elevation of your house. And then there's the interior elevations of walls and things like that. So instead of saying, this is what the wall looks like, we'll say, this is what the elevation is, but we'll use that a lot as well. Let's jump down to plans. Plans is the other part of construction drawings. We talked about, so if you're looking at a full set of construction drawings are made up of plans and specifications. So if you ever have a question, I've had to throw that out there sometimes. Now, what are construction drawings? Where are you going to say they're plans and specifications, the written part, and then also the set of drawings given that gives all the detail of the project. So we're going to be doing renderings in Revit as well. It's one of the cool things about Revit is that we can draw something in 2D, it'll pop up in 3D, and then we can also take that and render it and see what, give us a decent representation of what that'll look like in the real world. And then you can also take that rendering, import that into Photoshop and make it look very photorealistic. So rendering is really cool and one of the real benefits of Revit. And then we're going to jump down to red lines. This one's a lot. We'll do some exercises on redlining. But basically, if you're in a firm and you're working on a set of drawings and something's not right or something needs to be changed or anything like that, it's a slang term for the process where architects make editorial notes on a set of drawings. It doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong because it's in red. It's just like historically that's what everybody uses, a red pen, so they just call it red lines. And like say if you're moving a set of stairs, like, oh, we don't want the front entryway to be here, we want to move it here, then you'll do it red lines. And one of the big things that you usually do as a intern architect when you first get started is they're going to give you the red line drawings to correct, and your job is to go in there and make sure those all get correct and those get reviewed as well. So we're going to do a couple of small exercises that kind of give us an example of how to do red lines. So that's the gist of all the vocabulary I want you to know. Just review that. A lot of it's going to come up in class too, where we talk about it, but these are good to know even for industry. Any questions about that, y'all?
Not yet.
Okay.
Cool. All right, let me jump back to Canvas. The next thing we want to take a look at here is the plan set. If you want to go ahead and open that up, or just kind of follow along here, whatever easier for you. Let me download this one because it's a big file and maybe easier to read it here. Okay, so this is a project that I worked on previously. It's the Edward A. Dufresne Community Center in St. Charles Parish. And as I run through this, we'll kind of learn different things that we want to pick out and how we want to put together a set of plans. And I do recommend that you use this as a reference all the time. As we get to the point where you're putting your set of plans together, you can refer back to this to see, good examples of how to do it. But this is just our title page. It has our basic information on it. One of the things that I like to do in this class is I like to have y'all think of yourselves as different, your own specific architecture firm, and you're all bidding for the same job. We do that a lot, especially in the second half of the semester. So if you want to come up with a business name, if you want to come up with something like that, a name for this project that you're doing, any kind of creative, fun stuff that you want to add to your title page, it's totally fine. But we're going to come up with a title for it. Then we're also going to learn how to import images onto our title page. And then even though this is a title page, you'll see a lot of the same information is here and here. We want to repeat that as well. Also in architectural drawings, you'll notice that down here, as we progress through different drawings, different sheets are going to be labeled with different numbers and letters. So this is a G101. This is a general information sheet. We're going to get a list of sheets and how we create that as well as we get further into the semester. This is the general information sheet here. general information sheet 2. It's all the project details in it. We're going to do a much smaller version of this. This is obviously very thorough. We're not going to have all this. There's lots of abbreviations in the set of plans that they have there for people to know. A list of symbols. We're going to go through a list of symbols as well of what we're going to use as we start creating our projects, project statistics, and then also a table of contents. Let me see, let me zoom in on this a little bit. Oop. So under the table of contents, you'll notice that it's broken down into different professions. We have our general information sheet. We have our civil drawings. Our civil engineer drawings are obviously going to be listed with a C101, and it has the site plan and it has all the civil drawings in there. Landscaping is L, architecture is A, our structural drawings are S. So this is just a way to organize the drawing so it's easy to find information and it makes sense. So if I just need to look at something that's in the mechanical section, I know I can just go to this section right here. And it's just a way to keep things easy, electrical, kitchen, stuff like that. So that's why you have these different letters on the drawings, but we'll go over the different ways to create drawings with the different sheet numbers when we get there. I'm throwing a lot of information at you now. I don't want to throw everything and overwhelm y'all. Okay. But we will create a smaller version of this. Also, here's a legend. It's a list of materials, and we'll learn how to create a vicinity map as well. This just shows you where the building is in relationship to the real world. This is our site plan for this project. We'll create a site plan as well. It will not be this detailed. All these numbers right here, you see this is from the land surveys, which shows us the different gradations of the land. Then we have the overall site here itself, but we will do a version of a site plan as well. And this is listed as an A101. It's the first architectural drawing. It's A101. This is the floor plan for this building. It's our A201. Lots of information on here. It's a little overwhelming sometimes, especially on a more.
That's electricized, right?
I'm sorry?
It's not the electric side, like that's the for the electric point.
No, this is just a floor plan. Yeah, this is just a floor plan drawing. And the reason I know that is because we take a look at a little bit closer. We haven't looked at all these symbols yet. We're going to go through those as well. If I call out some of these symbols, this one right here is a wall partition symbol. So this will refer to what type of wall partition this is. You'll see that these are different window symbols right here that indicate the different window types. This is the A's and the 1, 2, 3s. This indicates the grid lines of the building. So you see when they correspond, if I'm looking at the beam at 3D, this would be the beam at 3D right here. And just another way to organize the building into drawings. We don't do the grid lines in this class. I do try and incorporate those into the MEP class. Apologies to the people who were signed up for MEP class. There was not enough people in the class and the college canceled that. But if you do like this class and you want to move on to more Revit based stuff, I definitely recommend MEP class to be. It's going to be offered again next semester. So hopefully we'll have class to make there too. We have our door symbols right here. And these are our detail call outs right here, which we talked about a little bit. So I notice I have some kind of called out right here. So on this detail in my little drawing symbol, I have a 1 in the A25. So this refers to that this detail of this particular beam is going to be found on page A825, and it's drawing 1. This one is drawing 9 on page A251. These are two different beams, but since they are the same number, it's showing that they are they're built the same way. And here is my detail page, what someone was referring to before, where we can see how this wall section is put together here. And this is where a lot more information comes in. We're going to do, if we have time, we'll do some detailed plans, but Detail plans are really where the meat and potatoes come on how to put the building together. So you're going to see there's lots and lots of plan details, but you can. The good thing is to know how you can call them out. So page A251, drawing 1 is that detail right there. I'll slide this over so you can say this is page A251 and how those correspond together. And let's zoom in on that just a little bit more. So you can see how there's so much detail in here. There's no way that you could add that to a to your floor plan. It would just, that floor plan is busy enough as it is. You would be blind. It would have to be the size of a wall in order for us to make any sense of it if we were looking at it. So this is where you get a lot of these ideas when you put together. You'll see a lot of roof details, stair details, things like that. But this is pretty much how they call out that information. So when we're drawing something, people ask, oh, I need to be able to put this in here, and be like, well, we want to get the overall idea of how that wall is put together, but that's not necessarily going to be in that drawing. We could use a detailed drawing to pull out all this information and make it easier for the contractor to understand. So does that answer the gentleman's question about the detail drawings?
Yep, thank you.
Perfect, thank you. But yeah, this is, I really pared this set of plans down to like a few basics for you. So you can see how much information goes into these details. All right, and this is an example of schedules.
I'm sorry, quick question again.
Yep.
And so is it the architect's job to create that detail page as well?
Yes, yeah. Depending on what it is, there may be some structural details that are done from there as well that the engineer would do, but these are done by the architect, these specifics.
Cool.
Yep. All right, and then they have the schedule page. They have lists this entirely just a schedule of openings, so you can see the doors down here, windows down here, and louvers down here. In this particular drawing, we have it not only type of doors, but they're giving us visual examples. We're just going to create the schedule for that, and then you can see there's window types, and they give us an examples of that, of how they're laid out. So this is just another way to help organize your information and get it laid out, because not all this information we'd want on our floor plan, and it gets very, very hard to read. So we have our IDs of where those different doors are. So if you have that door number right here, or even a window number right here, I think that's a W1. So to find out what that W1 is, we would jump to our schedule. That window ID is a W1 is this size. Size of our W1 window is this size. It tells us our glazing type, our frame type, gives us a breakdown of the details and things like that. And this just, obviously we can't have that on that floor plan, but we need to know what window goes in that section, that part. So that's why we refer to our schedule to find out what type of window goes into that area. Just another way to organize information and keep it clean. So we'll learn how to create schedules as well. Any questions about that, y'all? Definitely keep an eye on this. Definitely go through this when you have a time, just to familiarize yourself with it, and definitely refer back to it as we start creating our drawings. It's going to be a couple of weeks before we actually start creating sheets. But when you are creating your sheets, I find this is still a good reference to go back to create it, especially if you're looking at the general information sheet. So. All right, so what we got next? Oh, our symbols. Let's go over that too. So a lot of those symbols that you saw on that other sheet, I have examples of them for you here too. And this is the same symbols that are used on that set of drawings that I just showed you. The main ones we're going to need to know, obviously, are dimensions. Leaders will give you some information about this particular piece. You saw that the leaders were used when we were looking at the details to explain what the different pieces of those walls were. We're going to be doing room tags. Elevation heights, you'll see those pop up as well, especially when we're doing our elevations. We're going to create window tags. We're going to do door tags. This is a material tag. We're not going to do that. Keynotes are good because a lot of times there's a lot of information that needs to come out about a specific area, and it's not going to be shown as a drawing, but you actually have to say, if you want to find out more information about this, read this section right here. This is what I was talking about before, the different wall types of the partition types. And then we're not going to be doing the ceilings, but here's the detail tag, what we looked at before, where they would have the number of the drawing and the sheet that it's located in. There's elevation tags and section tags, and here's the column grid. So this is another good sheet to refer back to, excuse me, as we start creating our sheets. And next thing we want to do is we're going to talk about the project, and then we're going to turn it over to you. So basically it just is kind of giving you the overall idea of what the first project's going to be and what's expected of y'all over the weekend to be turned in for Monday. So basically you're going to do your entire measurements of the first floor of your house, and that sketch is due on Monday. I've included some examples in in Canvas. Oops. Some floor plan sketch examples of different ideas to how you want to draw your floor plan sketches. I don't give you any specifics on here, but you can do it any way you want. The gist of it is when you're doing your measurements, we want to start with, you can do your exterior measurements. And then I like to do where we're going to really start drawing. This is from our interior measurements. So on this one, for instance, you would measure from this, obviously from this wall, interior wall to this interior wall. And depending on the age of your house, the thickness of your interior walls is going to change. We're going to use a general number on that, and we can go over that at next class as we start talking about that and how we're going to use that for our walls. But basically I do 4.5 inches for your interior walls and 5.5 inches for your exterior walls. We have to keep some things universal just to make it easier for us to keep track of all the information and for me to grade it. So basically for this room, I would measure this wall from this interior wall to this interior wall. I want to pay attention to this window. So I'd measure from this interior wall to this interior wall. And then I'd measure from this interior wall to this interior window, not to the window frame, but the inside of the window. And then the inside of the window to the inside of the window. And that way I have those measurements. I have the entire wall measurement. If you just want to do it like wall measurement and window measurement, that's fine, but it's really going to make it easier for you if you do like the full wall measurements.
I'm sorry to ask.
Yeah.
You don't include the window casings then? It's the interior of the window?
Interior. Don't use the window frame on the outside, because the window frame will be on the outside. That's totally separate. You want to do from interior wall to the interior of that window opening, and window opening to window opening. The frame is on the outside, and it is different.
Cool.
Yep. Same thing for this door over here. Obviously we have the full measurements of the walls already. So here you can just go from wall to interior door. Same thing here, interior door to interior door. And then usually it's a standard 6 inches from the wall. It may be different on your house, and you can check that to make sure. But just to make things easier, I use a general of 6 inches. That's usual standard on there from this interior wall to the interior of this door opening. So, and then this is just a really simple way to do it. And I just start with one room and kind of go out from there. It's one example of how to do it. Let me show you a couple others, and you can go back to this. This one's a little bit more freehand. They're not paying attention to the thickness of the interior walls. Obviously it's on grid paper, but you still have the same measurements here as well. It's a different way to do it. And there's no hard and fast way to create your floor plan. It's just kind of getting in there. figuring it out and making sure that it works for you. The reason I use your home to do your first project, several. Well, number one, you're at home a lot now. Well, most of you, if you're, if you can, and then I also use it because as you create this, as you start doing this and we start laying this out in Revit, you'll notice, oh, I missed that dimension. Where's that? I need to get that. Well, it's easy to go back to your house, and get that measurement. So that's part of the reason that we use your house as your first project. So that's just another example of how to do it. And I just, when you have a chance, just get in here and dig in here and kind of see, these different examples, and it'll help you get a better idea how to do it. Here's another example of that
Excuse
thing.
me.
Yeah.
2 questions.
Yes.
One, is this due next Monday?
Yes.
Okay, also second question for Revit. I'm trying to word this question correctly. Do I download it onto my computer or like?
Yes. Yes. The downloading, you can go to Autodesk and you can get a student version of
Okay.
it. So we go to Autodesk. It doesn't take long to download it. Sometimes it's a little frustrating to find it because it's not a clear path, but you can figure it out. But yeah, you can get that off of Autodesk, the Autodesk site. You just have to have an account there. You can open that with your student email.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so we have time for that. But yeah, this is due on Monday, this coming Monday. So you have the next 5 days to do it. It's big and it's a lot to do. So that's why I give you that extra time to do it instead of just, doing this as the Monday assignment. So yeah, it's due on following Monday. But yeah, just another example here. Yeah. Another question?
Can we do it on the computer or
No, this is all going to be this is going to be hand sketched. This is a hand sketch.
Okay.
Yeah, this is like this is really a very real world scenario where you go out and you make the measurements of the building and then you take those measurements home and then you put them in your computer. I had a small job over the summer where I had to do this for a friend for they're doing a renovation of a old building in Chalmette, and they just wanted me to go out and do the same thing. So yeah, this is very real world. We want this strictly to be a hand sketch of it because you're going to be pulling your dimensions off of here and you're going to be using this as the basis of your Revit drawing. And as we draw that in Revit, it's always a little learning curve to make sure that things fit together. I call it like a puzzle. Sometimes if you're drawing, your measurements are off a little bit, it's not going to fit together and it's going to look weird. And that's when you go back home or you stay at home and you remeasure it and see where you're off. But yeah, it's just strictly hand drawing for this one. And those are 3 examples right there. You can also look into other examples online. But as you see, much like with your sketch drawing, we're not looking for something that's going to be, exact. I want something that you can use. My stuff usually looks more like this. Another thing to call out is you don't need to worry about your cabinet measurements right now. You can see in this one, they have looks like the stove or the sink. Don't need to worry about those measurements right now. We're going to come around later on and add that stuff. But for a pure floor plan, we're not going to have any cabinets or anything like that included in there. So it's just going to.
Question.
Yep.
And you want us to do both floors if we
No,
have just
your
the first floor?
Just
Okay.
if you have a 2-story house, just the first floor.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions about this, y'all? All right, cool. So first project is just going to do your house, your first floor, only your first floor, if you have a 2-story house. We went over general information on how to measure. You're going to measure interior walls, windows, doors. You're going to do heights also. If you have your ceiling heights, that would be great. Also door heights and height from the windowsill. So if we take a look at that, that's this measurement from the floor to the interior of your window and where that window will be placed. And then that is going to be due this coming Monday. So that is it, and a lot of information for class today. Do we have any questions about that before we break?
Quick question. If you're, you want us to measure the windowsill height, even though we're doing a floor plan, so we won't really know, we won't see that, or?
We're going to see that as we start adding our windows. So you can put that on the side but it is just, I just kind of calling that out as something that you'll need as we start creating that. Yeah,
Okay, so
you're
you
right
want
there.
us to get you want us to get the measurement and have it on there somewhere, but obviously unless we're creating like an interior wall elevation, we wouldn't see that anywhere on this plan.
Exactly. That's a really good point to discern that. Yeah, I just kind of call that out so you have those measurements now. If you don't want to get them now, if you want to just do strictly your floor plan now and then come back and get your height elevations for your windows and doors, you can do that. But yeah, you're correct. The measurement itself would not be shown on the actual floor plan, but we will need these for those wall elevations, correct?
Okay.
All right. Anything else, y'all? Yep.
Professor Martin, it's Rayshawn Varnado. I just was wondering, it's not in reference to the material that was presented today, but I was just wondering if I could set an appointment with you to talk with you about something relating to the class.
Definitely, yeah. You should have my cell phone number. Send me a text and we can talk about that offline and get that
Okay.
set up. That's not a problem.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, cool, no problem. Any other questions, y'all? All right, so that's it for today. I'll see y'all on Monday. And if you do have any questions, if you're a little frustrated while you're doing your sketches, you can send me a text and I'll get back to you and try to answer your question as soon as possible. And it's not supposed to be a thorough and complete floor plan. Most people are just learning out how to do this. So do your best and just go with the process as we go through the class and you'll be fine. All right, so that's it for me. Y'all have a fantastic weekend and I will see you on Monday.
Thank you.
Same to
Thanks,
you.
everybody. Bye-bye.
Have a good
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.